Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got this Toro Titan ZX4800. Customer brought it in, said somebody had just done some work to it. Looks like it's got a new starter. It's got some wires hanging in the back. Top cover and bolts are off. Battery is currently charged, but it won't do anything at all. We don't hear any clicking or anything when you turn the key. I'm going to go through the full testing procedure, diagnostics, and repair on this to get it back into working order. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button as we go along if you enjoy the content. As we take a look here, you can tell that the starter is brand new. Somebody has just put it on. It's not the exact style that normally goes on this engine, but it will work. And then you also notice the ground wire for the system is just kind of hanging. It's not hooked up to anything. It's supposed to be hooked up to that ground wire at the starter. So I wonder what exactly happened here. First, we'll want to get that hooked up in the right position, and we'll go from there. With those good to go, anytime you're riding mower, your zero turn won't start. First thing I like to check is battery voltage and the connections at the battery. Make sure that they're tight and free of corrosion. If you can move the terminal at all, it's not tight enough. That's not gonna be what you want. Get them tighter and nice and clean. We've got 12.41 volts at the battery, which is a little bit low. When we turn the key, we should hear something. We do. We're hearing the solenoid on the bottom of the carburetor, but nothing's happening when we're turning the key. We do have the parking brake on. With that and the arms each to the outside, this thing should fire right up. So next, let's go to the fuses and see how they are. Down at the fuse block, got a 30 amp fuse here. It is good. If these connections are real corroded or doesn't feel tight when you're putting it back in, you want to check that out. There's a good one. It's all melted. Doesn't look like it's actually broken, but it is melted. The terminal at the bottom does not look melted. Let's get a new fuse. Got another 25 ampere. Does that do anything else for me? Key still doesn't work. I've got the negative just hooked up at the battery. We're going to test the voltage, volts DC here, at the fuses and just make sure these fuses are getting power through. 12.26, 12.27. We're getting it on all four top posts, and there's just little spots for you to test them at the very top of each one of these. The fuses are good. That means the ignition switch is sending voltage through to those, but either it's not getting to the solenoid that is right here because of one of the safety switches, or the solenoid itself is not working, or the starter's not working. The solenoid here, it's got two smaller wires going to the bottom, and then it's got two bigger wires going to the top, and then one smaller red wire going to the battery side. We've got 12.29 volts there. We could go directly to the starter and test, but as I look just a little closer here, it's very obvious that this is burnt right in this location. So the solenoid's likely the issue, but let's test that for sure. We know either the starter's not getting voltage or that the starter's not working. I'm going to test here while I try to turn the key, and I get nothing. So that means that either there's not voltage getting to these two smaller wires because of a safety switch issue, or that solenoid isn't working. likely the solenoid, but let's double check. We'll pull these two off. And I'm going to test between the two, one probe in each. If you're testing these and on your blue wire, if you're getting voltage when you're turning the key, you know that the ignition switch and everything's working well, which it is. Getting the battery voltage, 12.26. But if you get voltage there back to ground, back to your negative, but you don't get it on this positive wire, or I'm sorry, on this negative wire, on the green wire, that means that one of your safety switches isn't working like it should. Because your ignition switch is trying to send voltage, but your safety switches actually connect the negative back on this. So if we were getting voltage like we just were, but now when we turn the key, we wouldn't, that would mean one of the safety switches is bad. I've got another video where I do the full testing on that. I'll put a link to that above and then down below. With us getting voltage at the two wires here, we do know now that this solenoid should be sending voltage from the main side here over to the starter side, which is here. The solenoid is bad. We're going to replace that and see if the starter is also an issue or if it's okay. You can always test your starter here if you're unsure if the starter is good by jumping across the two top posts. I just use my knife. It's metal. You can see all these marks on it from as many times as I do this. You want to make sure the ignition's in the off position. You don't want it to start. We're just testing to make sure the starter works. If we jump this and it turns, we know it does. Starter is good. Now we'll want to disconnect the negative battery terminal before we replace this solenoid. I've got the battery unhooked. I'm going to go ahead and remove the nuts, holding my wires on the top. You just have to remember that the one coming from the battery is the one that gets the smaller red wire. If you put that on the starter side, it's not going to do anything. Just pull those to the side. That was a 1/2 inch that I used to get it off. Now I'm going to pull the two that are actually holding the solenoid down off. One over here. One on this side. And now our solenoid's completely free. So get it up and off. Throw a new one down in there. We use Oregon. See if I can't get this in front of the camera. We use an Oregon 33-431. I had a very big issue with solenoids. When I started this, it seemed like I'd replace a solenoid and they keep going bad on me. I went through all kinds of different brands and nothing seemed to want to work until I went to this Universal. And it has worked great for me ever since. It's really the only one I use for any application. It has different mounts and stuff where pretty much everything will work. Get that all out of there. I will power wash this after I'm done, vacuum it up. Right now I'm not too worried about a little bit of debris. So this one can go just down on there like such. With these small bolts being there, they're going to be a little bit too big for that area, so I'll grab a couple washers. Got a couple good sized washers. Now this one comes with all of this stuff. If yours has terminals, like instead of like your round tabs like such, if it has spade terminals, so you can install those along with the lock washer and nut. Wire from the battery. We want it on first because it's got the most of a connection. We're going to clean it up a little bit since it's got some rust, it looks like. Somebody better be making fun of my brush here. Kind of close quarters to work in with the camera right here. You just want that to be a really good connection, both the bottom side and the top side. We're going to put these little pieces on first. We'll put those on with the flange up. And then we'll get the middle groove right in there so it makes a good connection. We'll do that for both of them. So you want that to sit just like such. One thing that I wanted to go over a little bit closer here is that if your terminal does not fit over the notch, so if it won't go over that, you're going to want to install this just like such, up into the nut and then down on top in this direction, instead of trying to put this on first with that down there, since it won't actually go through that terminal hole. That is the correct way to install this. Again, if yours won't fit through that hole, if it won't go down on there, this into here just like such, your terminal on, and then your nut and your copper on top of it. That way it makes a good connection on both ends as you tighten it down. Hold that in place. Make sure we're still centered up. We are. Move this a little to the side so it's not in the way. And you don't want to use an impact on this. Use just the ratchet. Tighten them up. If you over tighten them, you'll spin that stud back down below, and then it'll melt just like that other one did. So you want them plenty tight, but do not over tighten them. I'm actually going to spin that around just a hair more so it lines up with the other one so we can get that boot on back on there halfway decent anyway. Yeah, that should work pretty well. Just holding the wire in place as I'm tightening it down. Great. I can use some dielectric grease in these in any location if you'd like, whether it's inside here or whether it's at the other locations. Normally they make a pretty good contact. If they feel like they're loose going on, you can always pinch them just a hair because it's split in here. Sometimes they'll expand and won't seal real well, but if they push on tight, you're going to be just fine. I don't normally use it. Never have any issues, but never hurts to be proactive. Put that guy on there. sure that I really like that that's not all the way covered, but it's looking pretty good. Let's see what it does now. Got our negative all hooked back up. Let's see what happens. Look at that. It turns over, huh? Not too bad of a diagnosis or repair on this. Hopefully that's helped you get yours back into working order if it were something simple. If it's a little bit more in depth, or you're not getting voltage to the solenoid, or you got a bad starter or bad wiring, see the other post. I'll put that in the description down below. It goes a little bit more in depth. I think that's on a time cutter, but the electrical system is the same. Besides, this one has a manual brake and the other one has an electronic brake. Same testing and everything though on the Titan as it is that time cutter. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed the content. Thank you for watching and have a great rest of your day.